Today, I'm not going to teach you about how to manage anxiety. I'm going to show you how to understand it. Because anxiety is not random and it's not a weakness, it's not a character flaw, it's a feature. It's being human. And it's definitely not who you are or your identity. Saying I'm an anxious person, I'm just anxious, it's a signal. And once you understand the signal, calm becomes inevitable. Your natural state is calm. Maybe recently your natural state's been anxious. I'm going to help you change it. Most people respond to anxiety in one of four ways. They distract themselves from it, avoiding it. They suppress it and push it down, trying to resist what they really feel. They overanalyze and overthink it, or they criticize themselves for feeling it. But none of those fix what's actually generating it. Anxiety isn't caused by the event, it's caused by the meaning that you are assigning to it. And that's key. And meaning can be examined. The story you tell yourself about why you feel the way you feel, that story can be changed, and that story makes a difference. Your nervous system responds to what your mind believes. If you imagine more downsides than up, your body prepares for threat. Short breaths, racing thoughts, tight chest, tense shoulders. But when your perception becomes balanced, when you can see both sides, the negative and the positive, equally, your system regulates. Calm isn't forced, it's restored, and it naturally emerges the moment you balance your perceptions. This blueprint has three steps. Number one is to regulate the body through balanced breathing. Number two is to reveal the perception by asking the right quality questions that uncover the source of your anxiety in the past that creates and generates this feeling for in the future. And then number three is to restore balance by again asking the right quality questions that balance out this emotional baggage from the past so that in the present you're calm, you're present, you're focused, you're breathing lighter, shining brighter, and you're less tense, less dense. So we calm the nervous system, we identify the distortion, the lie, the illusion that's making you feel so anxious right now, and then we correct that imbalance so that you can step forward in the future and the present with less anxiety controlling you. That's it. It's simple, it's structured, and it's repeatable, and it works. It's something that I've done myself. It's something I've learned, I've studied, and I've applied with clients. And the process works if you work it. This isn't to say that you're going to get rid of anxiety forever. It's just that when anxiety inevitably comes up, you have a tool, a process, a method to work through it, to restore self governance, to get back in the driver's seat instead of it running you. You're running it. You can't think clearly from fight or flight. So, first, you need to breathe. And to breathe, we're always thinking about breathing deep into your diaphragm, expanding first through the belly, up into the chest, then up through the shoulders. Not just up through the shoulders, because you can't get a full breath that way. So first, slow inhale through the nose, expanding through the belly, up into the chest, up into the shoulder. And then you want to make your exhales longer than your inhales. And you can do that by making a little straw of your mouth and then exhaling fully until your lungs are empty. Very simple way to do that, because longer exhales signal safety. It calms your nervous system down. Anytime that you're anxious or stressed or uptight, breathe. Very first way, very first and fastest way to restore balance, to get yourself back in a state of calm. When you're focused on your breath, it's harder to stay focused on all the racing thoughts, right? This doesn't fix anxiety, but it stabilizes the platform from which you can think clearly. So again, it stops your mind racing, gets you focused, gets you centered on your breath. And when you have that balanced breathing, it helps you bring balance to the mind and you can control that breath. So, first thing to focus on. Then, once you've done that, not just once, but for a few minutes, Think about it like the box breathing. You can either do 4 seconds inhale, 4 second hold, 4 second exhale, 4 second hold, or what I would prefer is just a 7 second inhale, 2 second hold, 7 second exhale, 2 second hold. And if you do that for 7 breaths, guaranteed that you're more calm, you're less anxious right away. You can think clearly, so then you can proceed to the next step, perception. So, vagueness fuels anxiety, meaning if you're not clear and specific on what the real source of the anxiety is, it's probably going to run you and it's going to stay there running in the background because you're unaware, you're unconscious of where the source of it really is. And if you have a vague idea of what it is, if you don't truly get clear on pinpointing that, it's still there, it's still going to run in the background. So we get specific. What are you actually afraid of? Not I'm stressed, but I'm afraid to fail because I'll be seen as incompetent, for example. Clarity reduces that mental noise. So from the noise and from what you think it is, go deeper, go deeper, go deeper, and get clear on what the problem is beneath the problem. Initially, you might come on this thinking anxiety is the problem. It's work stress. It's all the things I need to do. Break it down until you get real specific, something real tangible that's like, that's it. That's the real problem beneath the problem. And then we look at the imbalance. So, what downside are you exaggerating? Because anxiety works in the same way as a fear. A fear is you expecting from someone else or something else in the future, you're going to experience more negatives than positives, more downsides than upsides, more pain than pleasure, more challenge than support. But again, that's just a perception. The truth is that you're always going to experience both in every single moment. When someone's criticizing you, someone's also praising you. When someone rejects you, someone else is also accepting you. When you fail, you're also succeeding. And it's kind of hard to wrap your head around it. But once you've really did the work and you've kind of looked and reflected over your life and seen that law to be true, that there's this duality, I'll say, two sides to absolutely everything, all the best things in your life, all the worst things in your life, two sides to it all. And I can say that with certainty. The belief in that law is what really helps you look for and find that balance and appreciate it so that you can essentially liberate yourself from that fear. Instead of having that control you, you learn from it, you grow from it, and you move towards it and through it and beyond it. So, what downside are you exaggerating? What unrealistic expectation are you holding? And this is a massive thing. Like most, if not all, of my clients' real struggles come from their unrealistic expectations. They're expecting themselves to either live outside of their values and then someone else's, things that they should do, have to do, must do, or supposed to do, instead of really honouring what they would want to do, like to do, fucking love to do. And if you're living by shoulds, musts, and need tos, that's going to drain you, and it's probably going to be a part to play in the anxiety. And then the other side of unrealistic expectations is having an imbalanced view. So if you're expecting yourself to avoid pain, seek pleasure, only get the good without the bad, it's like trying to get a one-sided magnet. All magnets have two sides, a positive and a negative pole. You try and split that magnet, what do you get? Do you get a positive and a negative separate? No. You get positive, negative, positive, negative. Cut it again. What do you get? Positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. So again, expecting something to be one-sided without the downside to match it, unrealistic. So if you're expecting, I don't know, to transform your body, get in a routine with the gym, eat healthier, without all the downsides that come with going to the gym, with eating healthier, with improving healthy habits, unrealistic expectation is probably going to create anxiety because you have a fantasy, an unrealistic expectation to experience all this good without the bad. You experience the bad, and it's like, fuck, why am I experiencing this? Something's wrong. But the anxiety is the feedback because your expectation is unrealistic. Makes sense? And usually there's a hidden should. Like, I should be doing this, but I'm not. Anxious, right? You're probably trying to live by someone else's values. You're outsource your authority to someone else rather than deciding, no, this is what I would love to do. Or at least this thing that you think you should do. Why is it important to you? Why is it important to your work, your career progression, your learning, your relationships, your health? And then when you link that to what's most important to you, you're more inspired and you actually want to do it. Oh, I'd like to do it, rather than, oh, I should, because so and so said, or because that's what you need to do. Link it to what's important to the point where you hear yourself saying, I want to do this. That's one part of reducing anxiety. So expose that unrealistic expectation, um, or injection of someone else's expectations on you. So every fear has a fantasy behind it. And again, anxiety and fear work in the same, similar way in the mind, right? Anxiety in the future is based on a past painful experience in the past that you don't want to repeat again. So when the signals come up, oh, this thing might happen again, you try and avoid it. But that's futile. You can't avoid it. Like, what you fear becomes near. You attract these circumstances to wake you up and break you through that fear. So try and avoid it all you like, but you're going to get frustrated and probably feel more anxious. And eventually you're going to experience it and then realize, what was I so scared about? So fantasy is, again, just the opposite of fear. So expecting a all positive, no negative in the future. You'll get a fear to wake you up. You'll feel anxious to wake you up that you've got a fantasy. That's the feedback. So think about it. If you're afraid of failing, then you're actually attached to always succeeding. You have a fantasy about success, but the reality is success has downsides, failure has upsides. That may sound mad, but if you really look at it, it does. And if you're afraid of losing control, then you're probably attached to having perfect control. Downsides to that, and it's probably not realistic because there's a lot that's out with your control. Outcomes, what people do, situations and circumstances, as much as you can maybe influence them, the only things that you can really control are your perceptions, how you think, how you see things, your decisions, this, that, both, neither, and your actions, what you decide to do now. Like watch this presentation. Action. Perceptions. It's a decision, not an outcome. The outcome comes from you taking the decision to take the action of watching this, or listening to this. You understand? So the more rigid the expectation, the more reactive your nervous system. It's that whole Bruce Lee thing, right? Be water, my friend. Basically be adaptable, because stress is the inability to adapt to a changing environment, circumstance. So don't be so fucking rigid. Be a bit more flexible, malleable, if that's the word, movable. And you'll probably experience less anxiety just by moving with a changing circumstance. So this isn't about like lowering your standards and your expectations for what you want. It's just about balancing your expectations by having a more regulated, balanced view, which then helps you regulate emotions. And if you can't manage your emotions wisely, then you're likely not going to pursue your goals wisely, whether that's the career or the relationships or your health, yourself, maybe even your wealth. I mean, Warren Buffett said the best, right? It's like, don't expect, if you can't manage your emotions, don't expect to manage money. Something to that effect, right? So we're not arguing with the fear, we're balancing it. We're using the fear as our guide to empower us, to wake us up to what we don't see. Because in every fear, there's an imbalance, a misperception. Your biggest fear in your life, there's something that you don't yet see. You haven't yet found the upside. And that's okay. But look for it and you'll overcome that fear faster. You'll collapse space and time. Instead of you waiting weeks and months and fucking years in a lifetime to never overcome that fear, you can decide now to look at that fear and find the upsides now rather than waiting. It's like looking ahead with foresight rather than looking back with hindsight, like, oh, here's all the positives. Think about a big fear that you've overcome in the past. Probably experienced so much negatives. Like if you take even, I don't know, exams or a test, like you're probably anxious and fearful, but then once you overcame it, it's like, what was I so scared about? There's all this upsides to me actually doing this, facing it and going through it. Example, reflect on it. So to balance a fear, if the feared event, this negative perceived thing happened, how would it serve you? What would be the benefits to you? How would it actually be something that's on the way to you fulfilling what matters most to you instead of in the way? And that's just, again, perception. How do you take your obstacles from in the way and stopping you and hindering you to actually on the way to helping you grow and enhancing you and benefiting you in your highest purpose, mission, vision, values, the things that matter most to you, that are most important to you. Feel me? What strength would it build? So think about resistance training in the gym. It's painful, it's hard, it's difficult, it's uncomfortable, just like a lot of the things that you fear. But how would that actually build strength within you? How would that make you stronger, more resilient, more adaptable, more capable, more responsible? This is for you to start questioning, looking, and finding these potential upsides that will come from this negative. What illusion would it dissolve? So again, if you have these fears and fantasies, would it actually guide you to break through them? And if you were to break through them, what would be the other side of that? And if it never happened, look at the downside of that. So if you think about your fear, think of all the positives at the other side of it. Now imagine that opportunity to grow is taken away from you. How would that be a downside to you? How would that be a drawback to you? How would that actually interfere with your growth and you fulfilling your goals and what matters most to you? And it's just, again, making that negative of not experiencing it so big, that cracks the fantasy. That dissolves the anxiety. If you go through it and truly balance out your perceptions, and you'll know your perceptions are balanced because you'll feel it. You'll feel a lightness. You'll feel your breaths getting deeper. You feel these kind of sighs of relief, a realization, a aha moment, a light bulb moment, goosebumps, tears. These are all signs that you're integrating, you're balancing, and you're breaking through this fear. It's amazing work, really. I love it. So, support and challenge are paired, and peak growth occurs at the border of support and challenge, comfort and discomfort, pain and pleasure, acceptance and rejection, success and failure, criticism and praise. Yeah. All these opposites, peak growth is right in the middle. So when you see both sides as essential for you fulfilling your goals, your purpose, your mission, what matters most to you, then anxiety, it fades because you're like, oh, this is perfect. So anxiety shrinks when the action becomes clear. Once we've done all this, we don't just sit there. It's like, nah, right, we take action now. Our mind became clearer. We've got ourselves out of that lower mind, that amygdala, that reactive state, and we've elevated into our executive function, our forebrain, our higher brain that has more objectivity. It can see greater space and time horizons. It can see the bigger picture beyond the initial avoid pain, seek pleasure. Like, think about it, you have that lower part of your brain, it's like an animal. It wants to consume, and it wants to basically seek prey, avoid predator. Like, that's how most people live. That higher part of your brain, the angelic part of your brain, it's like it goes beyond that. It sees the pain, it sees the pleasure, and embraces both in the pursuit of purpose. Maybe I'm going a bit too far here. You understand what I'm saying? But so I don't think dramatic action, big changes, or big outcomes is the goal of this. I think aligned action. Look at your values and what's most important to you. What is the highest priority specific action step that you can take right now, today, to fulfill your highest values or to do what you love? And that question, that answer that pops up from that question, it's like, do that. Be wise and prioritize and do ABCs, not XYZs. And your ABCs are the actions that you perceive to fulfill your highest values, the greatest amount of values, in the most effective and efficient way. So, what actually matters most to you right now? What is within your control? Perceptions, decisions, and actions. And what is the smallest next action step that I can do right now? Not a big, massive outcome, but just now. What's the action that will move me in the right direction? Clarity restores that inner authority. And when you listen to the voice and the vision on the inside, and it becomes louder than all the voices and opinions on the outside, you begin to master your life. You begin to use anxiety as a tool, as fuel for your growth. You move from reaction to self-governance. You govern yourself. You're the captain of your ship, the master of your fate. When I say ship, you are the ship, and your fate is essentially where you end up. Master of your destiny. Destiny being the destination that you end up. Yeah, I think that's enough here. So you don't need to eliminate anxiety, you just need to understand it. Every spike of anxiety is feedback, and it's giving you an awareness of what's going on inside your mind, inside your perceptions. And if you truly start to appreciate that and understand that, then you get to empower yourself in your mind and progress towards your goals. When perceptions are balanced, your nervous system falls. And when your nervous system falls, then anxiety loses its control over you, and you're able to learn and grow and go and do what you love. And when this becomes not just a one off exercise, and it's a practice, a way of thinking, a way of seeing, a way of operating when you experience that anxiety, then you build emotional stability, that calm state of confidence beyond fears and fantasies. So if you'd like help applying this work, to your training, to your relationships, to your identity, whatever your highest values are, wherever anxiety shows up most for you, we can look at this together. This is the work I love to do. So on a short call, coaching call, 30, 45 minutes, we'll identify a recurrent pattern where the anxiety shows up for you, clarify the distortion, and then define your next aligned step without any pressure, just clarity. And once you do that once for your biggest source of anxiety, it's like a domino effect happens where it almost becomes an integrated way of thinking and seeing, and it's a tool you'll use for a lifetime. So, yeah, I hope this was useful. If it was, let me know. Thank you for watching.